Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and today I'd like to share with you an excerpt from a recent online workshop that I gave called 5 Steps to Freedom from Cravings. I gave this workshop on Monday, November 20th, 2023, and it was amazing to get all the input and the interaction from the participants and to feel that we really went deeper than just, cut sugar, which actually really isn't the first step. In fact, I want to share step 1 of my 5-step formula today in this episode. But first, I just wanted to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews, and when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. Okay, so here is step 1 of my 5-step formula from the workshop 5 Steps to Freedom from Cravings. It's very discouraging to feel that there's something wrong with you, that you're weak in some way or broken, that you don't have the willpower that other people may have. So I want to reassure you in this workshop that you're not weak or broken. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not you. It's not you that's the problem. We'll get to the heart of what's the problem. Yeah, well, here's what one of the program participants said just recently in the Freedom from Cravings Formula program. Sugar affects me and makes cravings worse, which leads to guilt, feeling depressed and out of control. I use sugar as comfort and reward, but it only makes me feel worse. It's very typical to think, sugar will help me feel better. That's what I always believed. But in the end, it makes you feel worse than before. And another success story, just to let you know, from Marie in Australia, who also did my program and said, I realized I had to cut sugar. I wanted to return to a reasonable weight and not be pre-diabetic anymore. I imagined I would feel terrible sugar-free, but I rather like it. I know I've done the diets. I chose to stop eating things, but it's the beliefs underneath that I've never addressed before. And that gives you a little clue, the beliefs underneath, about the key to freedom from cravings. We'll get back to that a bit later. So maybe now you're at the stage of your life where it's finally your turn to take care of yourself. It often happens when we're a bit older. Later in life, maybe your kids are grown up, you finally have time to think of yourself and your needs. And this is when you're saying, look, I got to get over these cravings because I want to feel good. I want to look good. So, of course, that is the whole goal of feeling free from cravings. It doesn't mean that you never eat sugar ever again necessarily, but that feeling of freedom is what we're going to talk about today. And that's what I want to share with you. That's what I have, that feeling of freedom. And because I'm in charge, I feel I'm in charge. I'm not under the control of sugar and cravings, and I feel free. So these are the 5 steps that we're going to talk about today. We're going to start with step 1. And step 1 that I teach is to discover the foods and the fasts for you. So what I mean by that is, for example, I give an assignment inside of my program called 5-star foods, and it was actually brought up by one participant in our community who said the 5-star foods that he thought about was foods that you find delicious, foods that fuel your body and give you energy, foods that fill you up for hours, that don't trigger your cravings, and that help you plan your grocery list and your meals. And now I use this term 5-star foods. So that's another mindset shift. Instead of just concentrating on or focusing on all the foods, and I put foods in air quotes, that you can't, air quotes, have if you cut sugar, concentrate on the 5-star foods, all the foods that actually help you feel energetic, that you find delicious, that fill you up, that don't trigger your cravings, and that help you plan your grocery list and your meals. And so finding those 5-star foods is part of step 1 to freedom from cravings. And another part of step 1 is also to become a smart consumer, because believe me, the processed foods industry wants to make sure that you don't become a smart consumer, because otherwise you won't buy their stuff. And so step 1 in general and in the program that I teach is to become a smart consumer and to get to know food labels, and better than that, to buy foods that don't even have labels, because they're whole, real foods. Now imagine what if food marketing was actually honest and actually told us on the packaging what was really enough foods, right? Would we buy their stuff? I don't think so. So, food marketing is very manipulative, in my opinion. And what we need to do is to become smarter consumers so that we don't fall for the food industry's marketing. And one part of step 1 is to learn to spot hidden sugars in different products. For example, in cereal, where are the hidden sugars hiding? In fact, they're not hiding because they're black on white on the actual packaging. And so we as consumers need to figure out how to find those hidden sugars. And even in relatively unprocessed products, sometimes you can have canned tomatoes that have added sugars. Some don't, some do. We need to find out which brands do and don't. Same with tomato sauce and even ketchup. I think I read in the States that ketchup has high fructose corn syrup in it. Don't ask me why. Yeah. Mary, you're asking me to share my 5-star foods. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm an omnivore. So I really enjoy eating meat and fish. So all sources of meat and fish are my 5-star foods, but my favorite is lamb. I love lamb, and also salmon and smoked salmon. So those are 2 of my 5-star foods. I love cream, like proper cream without all the additives. We call it 35% cream or heavy cream in England. Love that. And I don't eat a ton of it, but I love it. I love butter as well. I don't eat a ton of it, but I love that. And I love all kinds of vegetables, all kinds. And I love to put sauces on my vegetables. So not because I don't like the taste of vegetables on their own, just because I'm a sauce girl. And I also love my fermented foods and drinks. Those are definitely my 5-star foods. And I know I've got plenty more. I'm a bit of a foodie, actually. I became a foodie when I cut sugar. And as smart consumers, I do think that we owe it to ourselves first to know that there are lots and lots of different names for sugar. And the most important thing is that all those different names for sugar, none of them exist in real whole foods. There is no added sugar in real foods, what I just call food. Yeah. All right. So part of step 1 is about your foods, also about your fasts, whether or not fasting is for you, whether or not which window is good for you if you are an intermittent faster. And another part of step 1 is to look at your why, at why you want to, maybe you don't want to cut sugar, but why you're at this point in your life where cutting sugar and getting rid of cravings is why you're here, right? Really, why you want to do that. So it's not always easy to know why. So I want to give you an example from Joan, who's in the Freedom from Cravings Formula program. And she says, my immediate goal was, and still is, to feel in control around food, she says. I don't think I've ever felt that, but it's getting better. She said, I also want to lose weight and to sleep better and have more energy. But my biggest want is to prevent diabetes. I saw my grandma lose her leg and see my mom struggle with her blood sugar, and I don't want that for myself. So if I want all that, then I have to do stuff now. Very true, very true. And in the program, I teach about your selfish why and your selfless why. Okay, and it's not something that we see very often. Your selfish why, your selfless why. What is that? So I want to read to you what Susan in the program said about her selfish and selfless why. She said, my selfish why is that I don't want to have to expend so much energy and thought fighting the cravings anymore. Selfish means thinking of yourself, doesn't mean not thinking of others, but it means thinking of yourself, which many of us have a huge problem doing. And she said, my selfless why is that I want to be a good example to others, mainly my daughter. I want to break the diabetes cycle in my family. Wonderful, wonderful reasons why. So it's your turn. And in the chat, can you tell me, what is your why? Why are you here today? Why do you want to find freedom from cravings? Tell me in the chat, what is your why? Yeah, it's not always easy to know, but maybe the examples can help you. I can tell you my why, like I said at the beginning, was, first of all, it was to be able to go to the bathroom every day. That was my immediate why. But I also wanted to get rid of my extra weight, my baby weight. I wanted to have more energy. I wanted to stop being so obsessed with thoughts of food. I wanted to get rid of my cravings and my blood sugar ups and downs that were causing my energy slumps, and all of those reasons. And I just wanted to feel, like Joan said, in control of my food and to have peace in my mind with relation to food. So that was my why, definitely. And Deborah, you're saying feel good, mind clear. Yeah, look better. That's your selfish why. And again, it's not a question of being self-centered when I say selfish why. It's thinking of yourself at last. Think of yourself. You've been looking after everybody else most of your life, I'll bet. Time to look after yourself. Stephanie, you're saying gain more control and continue a successful journey that I've been on for a while, but I've fallen off the wagon lately. Okay. Wendy, reduce pain, lose weight, get more energy. Sure. Claire, lose the 25 pounds I gained after my mum died. I remember, and yes, definitely. Feel better physically and mentally. Yeah, and feel better emotionally and physically. Stop beating myself up when I eat sugar. Self-sabotage, which we'll talk about, Anne, for sure, in this. Yeah, it's very common. Chris, definitely to lose weight, increase my energy, Constantly zero energy means I don't move at all. Total dislike of exercise and gyms. I hear you. I was like that too, definitely. To look good and move easily as I age. Fantastic, Terry. Deborah, selfless. Why? Example, and to be an example and to be focused on the present for others. Fantastic, fantastic. Nancy, I want my kids to have a good role model. Lovely. Lose 20 pounds, have more energy, get rid of my anxiety. Those are valuable and deep whys. And unless they're clear for you, right in step 1, all the other steps don't matter. They won't matter. So I think it's very important in step 1, and you're saying also, Stephanie, stay away from possible diabetes in the future. Totally. I think it's very important for your why to be clear. And everyone has a different why, you know? So this is step 1 of my 5-step formula that I teach inside of the Freedom from Cravings Formula program. And a big part of step 1 is finding your why. Your selfish why and your selfless why. And it's not just theory. These are really deep questions to think about. Because really, if you don't know why you're doing the admittedly hard thing of reducing or cutting sugar to be able to get rid of your cravings, I mean, if your why isn't clear to you, if you don't feel it, then, as I said, the other steps just don't matter. And step 1, as well as the 4 other steps in my 5-step formula, is exactly what I guide you through inside of the Freedom from Cravings Formula 90-day program. Because getting the guidance and support from someone who's been there and who's been living her craving-free life for over 8 years, that's me, by the way, puts all the odds in your favor of feeling free from cravings so that you can slim down and finally feel in control around food. One of the biggest challenges I hear from people who come into the program is that they struggle with implementing all the theory that I give on this podcast and in my free workshops, because knowing the info is not always enough. Real change comes from applying the information, from getting into action. And for that, you may need some support and accountability. And that's what you'll get, as well as lots more, inside of the Freedom from Cravings Formula 12-week program. If you feel frustrated, uncomfortable, stuck, hopeless, and you're trying so hard, but you just can't figure out what it is that works for your body at this time of your life, and you worry that if things carry on this way and cravings keep on derailing you, you'll miss out on all those magic moments on your bucket list. Maybe you're at the stage in your life where you finally have time to think of yourself, your needs, and your big why. And if you're ready to feel good and look good and have more energy to be able to enjoy time with your family and do everything on your bucket list, then I'm inviting you to book a clarity call with me to chat one-on-one with me about whether the Freedom from Cravings Formula program is a good fit for you. Go to aftersugarclub.com and click on the big green button to schedule a clarity call with me. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.